You mentioned prices increased the fastest in, what was it, healthcare?
Education and housing.
So you said maybe deregulation has helped Texas with housing. AI can potentially help education in terms of bringing costs down. Why can't we do anything about healthcare?
It's a great question. Healthcare is the toughest one because let's start by saying every advanced country in the world, healthcare is a problem. Because, there are 2 or 3 fundamental problems with the healthcare, where I think it makes the market not work really well. Number one, you go to a showroom and the salesman says to you, you should buy this flat screen TV. It's really cool and it's really good and it's twice as expensive as anything else. You're going to say, let me think about it. I don't know. A doctor tells you, you need to get this test. You're going to get the test, right? There's an asymmetry of information. You can't bargain hunt for the best medical procedure, or even whether you don't even know whether you need that medical procedure.
You don't really want to haggle.
So
with
we
your
get we get 3 times as many MRIs as people in Germany do. We don't need them 3 times as many MRIs. We get them because the system is incentivizing to create that. Secondly, I think that there is a fundamental problem here, which is that the market's incentive is to have you be sick, need a medicine, and not die. Right? Like if you have diabetes, that's perfect for the market.
Because you're going to be on that
every
for
month,
the rest of your life. Yeah.
Whereas the best thing for health is for you to is prevention. For you to never eat, that. But why will the healthcare system, why does it have any incentive to prevent problems? Because they make money by having you sick and then solving the problem, right? Yeah. So it's an interesting kind of market failure, and that's where I think you need the government.
Yeah.
And we don't do government that well. If you look at Singapore and Taiwan and South Korea, where they have good healthcare systems, which are very low cost, it's because they do government really well. They're very,
they also have a lot of faith in their government. I think that in the inception of America, right, it's baked to resent, to fight back.
Totally.
It's decentralized. It's inherently fragmented.
And we're anti-state by get the government off my back.
Exactly.
So do you think we can pull off universal healthcare?
Look, Medicare is basically universal healthcare, and we've pulled it off pretty well. I think that the fantasy we have is that nobody is making these decisions. Remember when Obamacare was being touted, and they were like, well, there'll be death panels, Sarah panel. Well, we already have death panels. They're insurance companies, right? I mean, the insurance company decides whether or not this procedure is okay or not. And maybe it would be better to have some centralized group of experts who decide, look, if you want this, God bless you, but we're not going to pay for it because we don't think it's medically necessary. That's what most of these other countries have.
There's an interesting thing. So Shifty is one of the guys who works with us. He's our editor. I want everybody out back home to go wish Shifty a healthy recovery. He just had hip surgery. He's 20. How old is Shifty? 23 years old. Wow. And but what's quite interesting is he had health insurance, but navigating the claim process is virtually impossible, right? So what Shifty did, and this is to Mark's point earlier, is he just input everything in ChatGPT, and his insurance paid for it.
Yeah.
He goes, I would never have been able to do this alone. I would have to hire, I think they're called a health advocate or something like that. Because, but he had AI do it for him. So in the same way that you see on Twitter, somebody posts some crazy fake news headline, and then Grok immediately, or people ask Grok is this true?
Verify this,
Grok verifies it. Twitter is so much more enjoyable for me now that I'm not consuming all this rage bait without having a fact check on it.
Right.
Maybe that starts to happen with the healthcare companies, and then they have to find a different system because you can't take advantage of the people now that we have an AI tool that's going to essentially fight back on their, I don't know if it's bureaucracy.
Reverse incentive.
Yeah, their reverse incentive.
No, you might. I think this may be an area where AI really helps, because navigating the complexity of the healthcare system or of taxes.
That's what I was going to say.
Right?
All these systems that seem so daunting to us, now we have something on our side that can at least help us through it. And maybe my parents' generation won't be able to do it, but in order for me to help my parents, it'd be easy. I'm throwing in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you know how the robber barons come about, and then unions are this equal and opposite force to the robber baron who's taking advantage of the worker. It's maybe we start to use ChatGPT as this equal and opposite force to the what do you call that? The muck that you have to go through.
Economic bureaucracy.
The economic bureaucracy or the administrative bureaucracy that you have to go through trying to get your claim.
You know, but it's a very interesting thing to ask yourself why we do this. Why do we have so much of this? And it's true for Medicaid, it's true for food stamps, it's true for... And there's a very good article in The Atlantic by this woman, Annie Lowry, who says, what we do is we put a time tax. You know, and it's particularly felt by the poor. Because we're so worried that somebody who doesn't deserve the benefits is going to get it, that we put so many requirements. And, you know, and by the way, this new big, beautiful bill has added a huge number of them with regard to Medicaid and work and this, that you make it impossible for somebody to go through it. And it takes so much of their time.
Yep.
And these are people who work, you know, real 9-to-5 jobs where they're being clocked. It's not like, frankly, all of us who can take an hour off in the middle of the day and do stuff, right? And so it's a very cruel thing to do to poor people, where they're poor, they don't have many resources, and now you put this huge burden where they have to navigate this whole process. Maybe AI can help, but I really wish we would rethink that and ask ourselves, like, you know, the thing about something like UBI, and by the way, all the data has shown that when you give benefits like this, it's much better. Just give people money. They're not stupid. You know, if you're giving them a benefit, don't make them jump through 16 hoops to prove this and prove that and prove that. You know, you're going to catch 1% fraud, but 99% of the people, you've made their lives miserable.
Yeah, I don't think we think their intentions are to help people with these rules. I think we think their intentions are to not pay you.
Right.
And that's why we don't trust them. And that was kind of my thing with Obamacare. It still gets touted a lot, but to me it was like, because maybe it's better than what we have, but I don't think the solution is to give everybody health insurance when we all know insurance companies are inherently pretty terrible.
Yeah, the one thing about Obamacare I thought that was pretty awesome was the pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
Like, talk to anybody who had pre-existing conditions. Like, before Obamacare, they were going to die.
Yeah.
They were just going to die.
Because they're never going to get the
And like,
insurance.
talk to Republicans that had pre-existing conditions, like coal miners, like people who work in factories and shit. That Obamacare came around and saved their fucking lives. I'm not saying they're going to change the way they vote, but like, Obama has a special place in a lot of Republicans' hearts because of that.
Look, the basic thing Obamacare tried to fix, and it only got somewhere, is you can't have a functioning insurance system where everybody doesn't buy in. Think about car insurance. If you said, oh, all the people who are most, you know, who are not going to get into accidents, you don't have to buy the insurance. But they're the people who make the system work. Like, insurance works because a whole bunch of people who don't need it also buy it because they pay for the people who end up, right? They balance it out. So in healthcare, when you say young people don't need to buy, you know, you can't do that. Like, the only systems that work that are real insurance systems, everyone has to buy in. Like house insurance, you know, if you don't have some minimum number of people all buying in, it's not going to work.
That kind of is like a universal health thing, in that essentially, like, I pay full price for health insurance, which for my wife and me is like $2,500 a month for not that good a coverage.
Right.
It's fine.
Right.
But that's kind of like a tax I pay.
Right.
To help
Exactly.
people who need insurance. I just wish we could remove the insurance company. I don't mind paying a tax.
Yeah.
Not that the government's going to be that much better at it, but at least I don't think their intentions are to not pay, which I think that is the case with insurance companies.
I think now we're getting to the point where it's like, what is the American criticism of like the Canadian healthcare service or like the British healthcare?
The healthcare is not as good.
It's not as good. You're waiting on lines. You can't get a doctor visit. It's like, we're waiting on lines. It's not as good. You can't get a doctor visit. It's like, you can either charge us and offer something spectacular, or you don't charge us and offer something adequate.
Right.
You can't offer something adequate and charge us. Right. That's where I think people start to revolt.
Totally.
And I think that's where the insurance companies have kind of, because of their incentive structures, have like squeezed us.
Yeah.
And we're at the point where, like, I'm not justifying this, but you have a guy shoot a healthcare CEO and then kind of be like celebrated on the internet. Like, if that's not indicative of how Americans feel about our healthcare system.
I will say this, you know, all of this points to this a problem we have in America, which is when we don't want the government to be involved in something, but it kind of has to be involved in it, we end up devising the most complicated Rube Goldberg type system that is totally inefficient, and you know, and that's what we have with healthcare, right? Like we're like, if you look at so many of the tax credits we have in America. We're like, we don't want to say we want to get the government to give you this money. So we're like, the government will give you a tax credit where basically the government is giving you money.
Yeah.
But you've created this complicated system where the lawyers are going to get a piece, the accountants are going to get the piece, a consultant is going to. Why not just say we're subsidizing this?
Yeah.
We're writing you a check. So there's something like
then we're a socialist country.
Exactly.
Okay?
So we have $1 trillion of government expenditures that are tax credits. Think about that.
So we're already given $1 trillion back.
Right.
But because our egos are tied into democracy and socialism,
and capitalism,
communism are so
exactly.
horrendous,
Exactly.
we have to disguise it as something else.
Is this buy-in system you're describing why we couldn't have like a dualistic sort of like public healthcare program as well as a private healthcare
That's what
program?
I was wondering.
I think that's what we should have. I mean, my own view would be have a basic system that's like a very, very bare bones Medicare for all. And you can layer on top of it a gold-plated system.
Whatever
that
you want that you
want to
can pay
buy
out
and
of your
pay
pocket.
more.
That is what
Public
it
school,
is.
private
Yeah,
school.
yeah. The problem
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
how do you get from here to there? So Clinton tried to get rid of the insurance companies. That was and that they revolted. I mean, that
And then
was,
they said that he
was
got
what
ahead
killed.
in the Oval Office.
Yeah, it was a lie from the insurance lobbyists.
You see the propaganda that they throw at our heroes? What the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
He said that he was on Epstein's Island
Said he
just because they tried to
smoked
get
weed
rid
or
of the
something?
insurance companies.
Hey, last guy to balance the federal budget. Maybe, whatever he was doing, it was working.
Now we're talking.
Perfect balance.
Now, feed them the interns.
I want to be clear, I'm disassociating myself from that comment.
Okay, that's interesting. How was he able to balance the budget? Did he just kind of let Wall Street run wild? Was that the idea?
Here's the magical, crazy, Nobel-winning idea that he had. He raised taxes and he cut spending.
Yep.
You got to do both.
Crazy. What an insane idea.
Yeah.
Like, it's math, right? I mean, that's the only way when you've got huge deficits like this.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to do both. And what we did was we cut
opposite.
back taxes and we sort of cut spending. We raised, we cut spending a little bit, but we raised it in so many different areas.
Yeah.
You got to win an election, and you can't win an election saying I'm going to raise taxes.
Right.
You just can't.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, fuck that.
But
Trump
he
won
did.
already.
I mean,
No, but
I
he
guess-
didn't say I'm going to raise taxes.
But
You can't.
Clinton won in '96 after he had raised taxes. I mean,
Oh no, yeah, and I remember my dad lost his job in '91 for like 2 years, and then '93 he opened a business, and like I remember being like, yo, I feel like it's not just me. I feel like we're all kind of doing really well. And then '96, I think it was just the momentum was crazy from the economy.
But your point about your dad losing the job, it reminds me of something you brought up, which is when you have this much change, and you have, what do we expect, and what we should have realized, and that you're going to get a backlash. You're going to get a lot of anxiety because this much change. I mean, think about the amount of change we've had, globalization, okay? Then information revolution, software, internet, mobile, cultural change. Think about how much the culture has changed in the last 30 years. The role of women, role of minorities, role of sexual minorities, all that stuff has exploded.
Sexual what?
Sexual minorities, gays, lesbians coming into the mainstream. You would think of more sex. No.
Oh, it wasn't sexual Latinas?
Sexual.
Remember the massage we were talking about?
Ironically, the role of sexual minorities is going up, but apparently young people are having less sex.
I know.
So
What the hell?
because they keep talking about this, shit, not doing
We
it.
need a sexual majority. That's what we need.
My point is, like, you have that much change, you're going to get a backlash. You're going to have people say, wait, my world is disappearing.
Yes.
And I think a lot of the Trump phenomenon is it's actually not that economic. It's this cultural. It's, and I don't mean cultural in a racist sense. Just like my world is disappearing. My community went away. What, give me back those. That's why, the most important words on his cap are again. Make America great again.